When I'm in the midst of the pain, I just remember I'm like do something that's gonna make you proud of you today. When you're unmotivated, like don't let that be a reason to stop doing what you gotta do. A real, true, powerful person gets it done regardless of how they feel. Like we can't be moving off of emotions. That little spirit is trying to hold me back. I'm just like, nah. Like you are not going to keep me where I was because I'm too focused on where I was going. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Godly Gains podcast. I am your host, Naomi.
What's up, guys? It's Michael here.
Yep, and we have quite the video for you guys today. We're talking about motivation. So the number one question we all get asked, especially, I don't know about you, pretty sure you do too though, is how do we stay motivated? But I'm here to tell you guys that the truth is we don't stay motivated. I don't care who you are, we all struggle at one time or another with motivational issues. But remember that it's how we react to that lack of motivation that matters. And you can experiment with strategies, and that is exactly what this pod is going to be all about. We are going to be dropping all our tools, all our keys for you guys.
So glad you said that. Then we don't stay motivated. A lot of people don't say that. They just fake it till you make it, and they're always motivated. And it's like, be real. It's like
be real. Like, let's be real.
That ain't it always.
No, it's not exactly. And honestly, that it's funny that people actually think that we are constantly living off of just this like high motivation or getting things done off of that. But reality is that we don't depend on motivation. We depend on discipline, and we're just going to get into it. We have tons of strategies that help us with motivation, staying motivated. There's ways to bring motivation back, which is key. And we got to get through it because, look, we have goals, and we know this thing called motivation isn't reliable. So let's figure out a way to...
So what's one of the first things that you do? I mean, what's your favorite way to cultivate motivation?
Sheesh. Okay, well, I have a few. When I think about cultivating motivation, yes. So my favorite, I would have to say, knowing your reason why. So we hear this thing about knowing your why, right? And I've realized as a personal trainer that the difference between someone who really can stay motivated and the person who just falls off really quick is the why. So knowing the importance of your why is a huge way to be able to conjure that motivation back. So it has to be meaningful. You have to have conviction behind of why you're doing this thing, because if your heart isn't in the thing that you do, you're just so much less likely to keep going with it, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
This motivation
sounds very familiar.
Very familiar. Yeah. I might as well think, or right away I think about my clients. The client who comes in with the deep, meaningful goal that is not superficial, but some deep pain that him or her experienced, and that's what's going to propel that person to their goal when, again, motivation has ran out. So knowing your reason why.
Compared to someone who's just like, oh, I just want washboard abs for like the summer.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, those people fall off so quick because the moment that motivation leaves you, there's no deeper meaning behind why, right? And then I've had to realize that too, is when I start a goal and I'm all of a sudden not deeply invested anymore, I know it's because I haven't sat down and really understood why am I doing this, because your heart has to be in it, like I said. So definitely knowing your reason why. If you don't have a reason why, I think starting with that is a good place to, because once you get the reason why, you can start seeing like what follows is that motivation, because you just think of that reoccurring pain. Like, I don't want to ever feel like that again. I don't want to ever be there again. Or I made this promise to myself. Like, I said this was going to be the one thing I was going to do. Then that propels you. So knowing that reason why
starts igniting the fire back within you. Like, that's why I did it.
Exactly. So definitely the reason why is when I think about trying to bring back motivation, I go to there because that's just a step that we all skip. Not all skip, but a lot of us skip. So that is what I think about when I think of the first step to getting that motivation back. What about you? What's your favorite?
My favorite for me, honestly, is just putting it into action. So act as if you're motivated. You know, there's times where, you know, again, how we said, motivation comes and goes and it's not reliable.
Act as if you're motivated.
Act as if you're motivated. Yeah, you know, I'm sure everybody has felt what it's felt like to be motivated before. So it's really important, at least for me, to kind of channel that energy. What would Michael do who was motivated? How would he move? How would he act? Would he be doing right now currently instead
Right.
of what he's
Yeah.
currently doing? Like,
You don't have to feel motivated to act motivated.
exactly,
So like
exactly.
that's big right there. I love that. Keep going. I didn't
Yeah,
mean to cut
so
you off.
exactly how you said, you don't have to feel motivated to act motivated. And surprisingly enough, when you put yourself into action, you can start cultivating it, and it naturally comes to you. You know, and one thing that I've always subscribed by is discipline. You
Right.
know, I try not to motivate. I don't rely on motivation because motivation is, how we said, it's fleeting. It can come and go. But discipline, if you practice discipline, that's going to be the main thing. Discipline is internal. Discipline is habitual, you know, and
Yep, exactly. And you
yeah,
know what's crazy is like really quick, I just want to add to this is that when you talk about discipline, that's it's all like we hear this term like or this phrase like fake it till you make it.
right.
And it's so crazy how you could literally apply that to so many things because what I'm thinking is like you don't feel motivated, like you have to literally like get this feeling into your body by like a I don't want to mess up this word, but like a physiology, like
Yeah,
change in your
yeah,
physiology,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Change in your physiology. So like literally acting as if you're motivated. So like you said, like thinking about I like right away start thinking about like if I'm motivated, I'm waking up early. I'm still doing the reps that I don't want to do. I'm showing up to the workout. So still doing
Discipline.
that discipline, man.
Yeah,
And that is really what you can count on the end of the day is coming to a place where you get it done regardless of how you feel, right? So we're
yeah,
we're
that's
always going
key.
to be talking about that.
That's super key. And there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of resistance along the way, but again, when you build discipline to get through that resistance, you become stronger in that. You know, you can build your discipline, and it can be just like a muscle, and you can get stronger in your discipline.
Act as
The
if you feel
motivation,
motivated.
again, it's fleeting, and it relies on an external source rather than an internal source.
Right.
And for me, sorry, for me personally, yeah, I try to practice discipline. You know, I'm not always successful at it, but the attempt is there. You know, and to me, attempting it and trying to become disciplined works out way better than the long run if I was just be like, oh, I'm just gonna wait for it to come to me.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Waiting for motivation is probably one of the biggest mistakes that you can do because eventually it will come, but man, you're going to waste a lot of time just
It's a lot
waiting
of
for
time.
it.
It's a lot of dead time in
Oh
between.
my God. I want to talk about that too, about time. Like when you lose that motivation, the worst thing about losing motivation is that there's a time period where what usually makes me lose motivation is like I either got sick or something knocked me off my grind. Like some curveball hit me, you know, life be life in, like I always
Life
be
be
saying.
life in.
Life be life in. And like when you get your ball rolling, it sucks so much to just it's right when you really set this goal or you're just really excited, you're really gun ho, and then you know life just smacks you in the face with something that has made me lose motivation so many times. And then what sucks is you know I have to take a week off of you know that set goal because you know I have to deal with some life stuff, and then what happens is it just runs right in the middle of your momentum.
Yeah.
So then dealing with that, it's like okay, now a week has gone by, and then I don't know if you felt this before, but when you're wanting so a week goes by and then now you're coming back into the task and you're like okay now I'm ready to go back whether it be the gym or whatever
Right.
even like the podcast like I told you after a week going by you already feel this rust like this feeling of and it's weird too because like even me after going to the gym for so long if I take a week off or like it's been a while since I took a week off but if I do take a week off I immediately am like I could miss another workout. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
It's like
real easy.
you
It's
have
real
to take
easy to be
it
like
takes
that.
so
Yeah.
long to build discipline and it takes just a week to like throw you completely off of like years of discipline, which is crazy. And that's why like you have to really understand that you want to eliminate like the time in between as much as possible
Yeah.
from the moment that you know you lost that motivation to when you start up the task again.
Yeah.
That's so key. And then a number one thing I really want to talk about is that not beating yourself up to about the time. Like
That's important.
how much
That's
more
so
time,
important. Yeah.
right? Are
Because
we
now you're
wasting?
wasting double the time because you're sitting here harping on beating yourself up, and you're just like, oh, now I got to get myself out of this funk.
Yeah,
Plus the rust that we
yeah.
already
You
had.
got the rust. Now you got the self doubt because now you're gonna start beating yourself up and start thinking like then those thoughts, the negative thoughts start coming in. Oh, you know, this is really hard. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna just be really transparent to, having the Fit Expo over the weekend,
Yeah.
and then just taking off 1 week. We made that determination to be in this room filming these podcasts every single week, right? And just taking off that week, right? When I had taken off that week, coming back to it, I already felt like these thoughts of just start lingering in. And again, like I just want to reiterate, your thoughts, you are not your thoughts, and you can have certain thoughts and you can choose to associate with the ones that are true to you. But I had these thoughts immediately that were like, man, maybe the podcast was just and it's so silly, like when I say it out loud, but like maybe the podcast was just a you were just gun-ho about it, and now like you do have a lot on your plate, so I don't know if you can really like manage to do it, like all these things again in my head, and immediately like I understand, like, look, these negative thoughts that are coming in, like I gotta run these over with positive thoughts immediately. Like everything is, I'm creating my own reality, so I had to tell myself right away, like, look, like we're gonna get right back in it. We're going to sit down. We're gonna brainstorm,
Self-motivate.
and look at we here.
Self-talk, self-motivate. That's what it's all about, right?
Running
there.
over those negative thoughts is huge, right?
I think that's really important. Is the term of phrase that you're using, running over your negative thoughts. Like literally blasting through and
With
just being like, yo,
positivity.
you don't control me.
Yeah,
like that ain't it. That's not the vibe we going for, and it's not who you are. And your flesh wants to take the path of least resistance. So it's going to convince you to be like,
hello, talk about it. I want to say that again. Say it again. What'd you say?
Your flesh wants to take the path of least resistance.
It
so
does.
It's definitely going to come, have those thoughts. The enemy's going to put those thoughts in your head thinking that, you know what, just take another week off. Like, hey, maybe you need a little bit more time to prepare. And just like, bro, God calls us to do this. I don't need any more preparation. We're not lacking.
Exactly. And you know what's so crazy is like comfortability, man. It's so crazy that the way that our body is just literally the flesh is lazy. The flesh wants to stay so comfortable, and it's so, like I told you, 5 years of discipline and then 1 week off. And that's why it's so important that, like, whether we have the motivation or not, like we cannot stop. We have to keep going because we're building that discipline, and discipline is everything. Like literally, like what you said, discipline is everything. And I want to just like,
sorry, I wanted to share this with you because I don't know if anybody else has ever felt this, but maybe you have felt this. Is I couldn't help but think, like, when I got my tattoo, like in the moment I'm like, oh man, I'm itching. I wanted to go to the gym. Dang man, I really wanted to go to the gym. And then when I was clear to go to the gym, it was like, I don't want to go to the gym. It was like, yo, what? What are you talking about?
Literally. And that's why I understand why they say we have to crucify our flesh. Like the body will seek pleasure and avoid pain. Like once you understand that, then every time I start feeling those feelings of like no motivation, or that little spirit is trying to hold me back, I'm just like, nah. Like you are not going to keep me where I was because I'm too focused on where I was going.
Yeah.
And again, focusing on that why, like where are you really going? I want to talk about this is focusing on the good. So focusing on the prize, and this doesn't mean not being present, but this means more like that feeling of being accomplished. We all know that feeling where you have, like how good it feels. Like when I told you today, when you were saying, I hate these Bulgarian split squats, like I know you do, but look, what get me through that, and like the dread of things, because that's what it is. It's dread, like accumulated dread equals lack of motivation, like because you're just like, and that's why I told you, like, don't say you hate it, because like when you say you hate it, you begin to dread it, and anything you dread you want to avoid, and like at all costs. So that's why we have to be careful and say like, this is great, but again, it's that fake it till you make it, because what you're doing is,
and it's not being delusional, it's truth.
It's
just
literally truth.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, like when I do those Bulgarian split squats, what's going through my mind is, one, I'm visualizing how sexy I'm going to be with some big ass legs, and like, how hard
Focusing on the good.
Focusing on the good.
That's a whole lot of good.
That's a whole lot. Exactly. And like just putting myself in that place. And then when I walk out through those doors of the gym after a leg day, like that feeling of accomplishment, like, oh, I did it again. Like I did it again, did all the hard shit. And I go there. And like when I'm in the midst of the pain, I just remember, I'm like, like do something that's gonna make you proud of you today. Like I literally say that over and over in my head. I'm like, do something you're proud of. Like, and then after the set, like I'll be real with myself. I'm like, I'll know if that was 100% me, or if I was actually proud of myself, or I just kind of half-assed it, right?
Right.
So like going to that good, like focusing on that good, not focusing on the short-term work that you have to do, but remember that that's just that sacrifice to the big prize. Like that.
Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't always have to be related to fitness. I mean, if you're writing a book, or at least whatever task it is, I'm going to go ahead and use my task, because sometimes, I have a lot of work piled up, multiple edits that I got to do, and the task may seem daunting when I think about everything that I have to do. If I have 3 edits due at a certain time, and I'm just like, hey man, just focus on the good thing, focus on the small tasks, pulling select, something that's going to take, a few minutes to do.
Yeah.
And even if I did 5% of the work, I feel good about that 5%, because that now only got that 95%, and just little by little, just fixating on the good parts of it,
Yeah,
and
celebrating the small wins.
Celebrating the small wins, exactly.
Yeah, that's key. That's facts. And so I was actually me with motivation, like to do what I have to do every single day, especially going into the gym. Like, I I looked this thing up. I'm like, how do I conjure more motivation? I need more motivation, and I remember reading about this thing. It was called the 10-minute rule. So this is something that I've always applied, and this has helped me a lot. So what it is you allow yourself 10 minutes so you have to submerge yourself into whatever the thing is,
Right.
and then after 10 minutes you give yourself the permission to quit. If once
Like stop?
yeah, to stop. Like literally, you
Oh.
set a timer, like whether it be cleaning, or I've done
Oh.
this with. What's really good with this one is cleaning, or like going for. Let's say you have to do a lot of cardio. I will tell myself like, okay, just do 10 minutes. After you feel at the 10 minutes, you can stop if you want. And what I found out through that 10-minute rule is 90% of the time when you do that, you end up you end up getting the motivation to keep going.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I'm already in it.
I can
like,
relate to that. I do that with reading.
Yeah, right?
I don't like reading, but
It's the
I
10-minute
tell
rule.
myself to give myself 10 minutes, and the next thing I know, I'm like, I've been sitting here for half an hour? Okay.
Yeah, literally. So
Yeah.
you've done it. Like you just submerge yourself in the thing for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
I had never heard it been put how you said, though. Allow yourself to give time to quit. I never told
Yeah.
myself. I would just say
the option to quit.
the option to quit. Yeah. Yeah, giving yourself the option is just like, wow, that's just a really good perspective to have, because it was just like, just do 10 minutes, man. Just do 10 minutes,
Yeah,
and then hang
just
your
do
hat
10
on that.
minutes,
But
that's
just
it.
do 10 minutes, and then with the option to quit, because I think at the end of the day, at the end of the task, even if you do 11 minutes, it's that victory. Your subconscious has no idea. It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
said 10 minutes, but I did a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then your subconscious is like, all right, just keep doing a little bit more, a little bit more. Yeah,
You
that's
know what
awesome.
I just realized right now was like one of the main things that really helps propel us as human beings is literally the small things, like the small wins. I think we've heard it before, but I want to say it is that like small habits and small positive habits lead to exponential results. But a lot of us we want
Okay,
those,
Joe Dispenza.
right? I know how much shit. Yeah, and we're always like looking for those exponential results, but we don't realize that like nobody goes like here to there. It's all these little things that are adding up.
Right.
Exactly, like just little things, and then that's how you get actually long-lasting changes. So I think it's the overwhelm of thinking that if we start a thing that we need to become just an expert, or we need to just go full throttle 100%, but let's be real, is you have to create momentum. So
Momentum. Yeah, I do that with cleaning the house. It's like
Yeah.
I look at the house, I'm like, oh, there's so much to do. It's like I just go do the dishes.
Yeah.
Then I do the dishes, and then I pick
Yeah.
up certain things, and then the next thing I know, I'm sweeping the floor. Then I'm vacuuming, and then next thing I know, it's like, oh, it's only been an hour and a half. I did the entire house.
Yeah.
And it feels good. It's just like, oh, okay, that was not as easy. And then again, I get an endorphin high off of that. It's like, what else can I do with the day?
Yeah, exactly. And I think also too, when it comes to motivation, not only does it come and go, but like I said, there's so many different strategies. There are so many different strategies to work on bringing that motivation back. And
What's another strategy that you have?
self-care. Taking care of yourself can shoot your motivation, can either make your motivation go to or put your motivation all the way up. Like I could tell you this is when I feel like, and I'm pretty sure so many women can relate to this, but like when you have not been taking care of yourself, like hygiene, shower, like you haven't gotten ready in a while, like if you just get ready, like do your hair, do your makeup, take a shower, like you will feel so much more motivated. But like when you're just always in, big oversized clothes and just feeling, even with the gym too, like getting that new gym fit, like we put so much motivation, like so much motivation.
I feel you, because like sometimes like when I would buy new gym shoes, I'm like, yo, I want to go to the gym right now.
Yes, like
Yeah.
you feel like you look good, you feel good, kind of thing. So that's why also even exercise is so important. Like when I'm talking about self-care, I'm talking about exercise.
You
I'm
gotta
talking
take care of
about
the temple.
drinking that water, drinking that water, getting your sleep.
No, I feel you that, yeah, especially like, yeah, diet, because I can remember there's be days where I go on editing all day and I didn't want to take a break to like cook a meal, and so I would eat just junk food. And then at the end of the night, yeah, my edit was done, but I'm like, I
Yeah, like
feel
of
like
course.
crap, man.
You know what's honestly too, what's crazy about like junk food, and I'm really starting to realize this because I really do want to just eliminate as much processed stuff as I can, like stepping into this new, just this new chapter of our life, like getting closer to God and taking care of our temple, because all the chemicals and stuff that are in the food, like that's really messing up with the way we think. Like that's creating fog, crazy fog, because like all this shit, why are we eating
Bunch of
colors?
processed stuff.
Why are we eating colors?
Yeah.
Like yellow number 9, like red, like coming from like
Beetles and
yeah,
stuff,
coming from
crushed
beetles,
shit.
like beaver anal glands and Doritos, like like there's so much that like we shouldn't be eating, but it's all with our motivation. Because I'll tell you this, like when I'm on my meal plan and I am like know that I'm feeding my body, getting my rest, like praying, big time praying, like staying close to God, like I feel motivated. I feel like I'm full of purpose. I want to just get out there and really give it my best shot, because I'm also feeling myself. And then really quick about self-care. I used to do this, and I swear it will increase like motivation so much, is when I know that I've had a full day of like eating healthy, drinking my water, and I worked out that day,
Right.
when I go to sleep and rest my head, I sleep like this, like a baby, just knowing that in my sleep, my ass is getting fat. In the most like, with a pH, like my muscles like growing, that as I'm sleeping, all these cells are rejuvenating, and that when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to be better than when I fell asleep.
Yeah,
But
100%.
when you live a life like that, where you're always just putting in, those reps and putting in that, paying your dues, you're making deposits. So when you wake up, you feel excited, because I'm like, oh, I know that I'm gonna be a little bit leaner, or whatever the case may be. But like taking care of that temple is a huge.
Or eating your a good pre-workout meal at a specific time.
Yeah.
It motivates you for your workout, because you're like,
Yes.
I'm gonna have a sick workout because
Yes.
I have that meal in me. I'm gonna have tons of energy. I'm
Yes.
gonna be able to push that extra rep.
Or working out.
I
like it.
What?
What? Talk about working out. You were just telling me how like working out just literally sends your
Yeah.
motivation.
I was sharing that before I had met you. Like, our workout schedule is a little bit different now, but I know that if I was ever in a slump, it was mostly from not working out. And the first thing that I would do, or at least, yeah, that was my number one action, was go work out. Wake up. As soon as you wake up, go work out, because during that workout, I'm I'm gonna finish the hardest thing that I have to do today. And then I'm running off that endorphin high, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready to go do laundry, or I'm ready to go tackle this edit, because I already did the hardest thing that I had to do.
I'm telling you.
And so the way we train really hard, and we really push ourselves, and we have a lot of mental battles that go into our training. And after that work, I'm like, damn, I feel accomplished. I feel good about it. And just because I did that, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna go body this edit, or I'm gonna go home and clean the house, because I got all this energy,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, whatever
Yeah.
tasks I gotta do. If it's
Yeah.
10 different things, I'm like, bro, I'm gonna get through that with ease, because like I already got that pumping.
You know what? It also helps me too with that. Like something that, for sure, working out like that, like gets me really motivated. I feel like when I don't work out, the day can drag a little bit. But what really helps me, and this is what I want to do yesterday, was just to go outside into the sun. Like there's something about the sun that helps me feel so motivated. That's why I really want
You're
to
a
get
nature
early.
girl.
I'm a nature girl, like us Taurus queens, like earth signs, can relate. But yeah, like if you something about going outside, I really feel like the human body like needs that sunlight, and sitting in the sun sitting in the sun just fills me with inspiration. So like finding out what's that thing that you can get close to that really like helps just rejuvenate you. I know my friend Kiana, she loves the moon. So like her stare, I bet her staring at the moon, it does that for her where she's just like, it recharges her. So for me it's the sun or going on a walk. Like that's key too to like getting that motivation back. But like the number one thing too is like if we're going to talk about all these strategies on how to increase motivation, like we really got to talk about the worst things to do when you're feeling unmotivated too. And like that is to
Give me
just
some of them. Be
it's
transparent with me. Give me what you do.
it's to start like staying on the couch, staying
That's
on the
horrible.
couch and like bro, change your chonies. Like like take a shower. Like if you like I promise you, like if you're just collecting dust and must, like you are gonna feel even so much worse. Or um eating a bunch and dude, oh my god, like back in my freaking bulimic days, like binge eating the day before and waking up, you were gonna be so unmotivated. Or like over drinking way too much. Like drinking is another huge motivational killer. Like drinking for me, well, I don't drink, but like drinking has to be done in moderation because like I've just seen it kill the next day because you have a drink, you're drunk, you're hungover. Next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. You're at Alberto's. You need to take your ass home, and then you wake up tomorrow, fat ass headache, big ass belly,
Yeah.
bloated. Like I don't want to do anything.
It's
I
just not
could
the
not
best.
imagine.
And then,
Yeah.
not to name anyone specific, but I have heard this so many times. Just people who do drink, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get back into working out. It's like, bro, you never get back into working out.
Bro, no. And then like it's so crazy too because like it's this instant gratification of like I get it, like when you go out and drink, like you feel good for the moment, but man, like for the trade-off to feel so like it's just to me like
It just doesn't seem worth it.
yeah, like realistically it does not seem worth it at all. Like for me, I'm just thinking like I need a return on everything. Like we only
Yeah.
do investments around here.
You're accepting you're accepting temporary satisfaction for in trade of like long term
Yeah, like nah, we
long term
like sacrifice
rewards.
Exactly. Like you're sacrificing there must be like a quote about that. Like either you sacrifice for the reward or you sacrifice the reward for the
There it is. There's
there
the
it
bar
is.
right there.
Hey, write that down, write that down.
Write that down. Write that down.
Yeah, and so that's huge. So like really like when you're unmotivated, like don't let that be a reason to stop doing what you got to do because look, like at the end of the day, like I said, like a real true powerful person gets it done regardless of how they feel. Like we can't be moving off of emotions because oh my gosh, like and I'm happy and proud to say that like we really do not move off of motivation. Like there's
We wouldn't be where we were if we did.
it's impossible. It is literally impossible. But motivation, like there'll be times where it really just sparks up again and like it's really high. But then like when it goes, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what it is. Like just got to keep going through the motions, keep doing what you're doing. But you're gonna catch motivation like the more you do what you got to do and you have that discipline because one again that small wins is going to be big time motivation. And then another thing that's going to give you motivation is to start seeing the fruits of your labor. Like once you start seeing those results come in, then you're going to catch that motivation again. So it's all about like remember you can't stop. Like you really cannot stop when you don't feel motivated. That's not a reason to stop. And I think once you make that switch of understanding that motivation is not the driving force of getting shit done, then you really start popping off because you're like, oh wait, these people aren't, because you see these people and you're right, like they do like say they're just like, oh, like grind 365 and blah blah. It's like, damn, they do stay motivated all day, but like they really don't. And just because they're gung-ho like doesn't mean that they're motivated, which is like once you realize that too, it's like there's nothing wrong with you if you lost motivation.
There's nothing wrong with you at all. And like how you said, and we're harping on this idea that it does come and go, and when you do experience it, it's awesome. It's like, oh, I caught a wave, and you ride it, and it's easy,
Yeah.
The hard part is when it's not there, but I think it's important to understand that you can cultivate motivation,
Yes.
with not only the tips that we've been giving out too, but also putting yourself in the setting that will motivate you,
Yep.
I mean,
like
even like with the content that you watch, I mean, I don't know, how many of you guys have done this, but I can talk from just personal experience, you know, watching like a documentary on something, all of a sudden I'm motivated to go do that thing, you know, like
Yeah.
pumping iron. Every time I watch pumping iron and I
Oh,
watch armor,
yeah.
I'm like, I want to go to the gym now. And it's like my
Yeah.
legs are dead sore, but I don't care. I want to go, you know, do it.
Yeah.
So I think you can cultivate it and put yourself in a surrounding or put yourself in a setting that does it, you know, specifically like in this room here, you know, I use this room to do my Bible study because
Yeah.
it puts me in the presence of it and it motivates me to get into it. And I feel
Yeah,
God's presence in this room. And the environment is very, very
Yeah.
key. So if your environment is in bed on your phone scrolling through TikTok, you're
Yeah.
not going to be motivated to do anything other than sit there and be on that
Yeah.
slot machine. And then all your
Yeah.
dopamine is just gone for the day.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Yeah, honestly, like that's what I was telling you earlier about Instagram is that every time I get on Instagram, it's funny because I used to use Instagram and TikTok as a like as a tool to get motivated because I was like maybe I can see like what kind of content people are doing so I can get inspired from my content. What I found is that is one of the worst strategies you can possibly do. Every time I get off Instagram, I'm so like I don't even know what I'm doing and I'm like why did I just let an hour pass on that? Like I literally get so mad at myself because I'm just like I literally am now I feel I lost brain cells. I also feel like because at the end of the day like it's just entertainment so you're just like consuming but not processing, especially because like you said like it's a slot machine so you're just like like
and not to say that you can't do it because the way I use Instagram, which actually leads me to one of the other points is time management.
Yeah.
Right? So if I do go on Instagram to look for inspiration, I'm specifically going to the content creators that I enjoy and then just kind of seeing what they do and that'll give me inspiration and motivation.
See, because you went in there with that clear clear intention.
But even with that,
because I get sidetracked.
It's very easy to get sidetracked. It's very easy to get sidetracked, right? And like I said, with the time management, even though I do that, I can spend 30, 40 minutes and get lost in it. So at least what I'll do is I'll set a timer on my phone.
Yep.
It's funny that you say 10 minutes because that's usually the time that I allow myself is a 10-minute timer. And be very, again, we talked about discipline.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is where you kind of start combining some of those things. It's like, all right, well, time management, I'm going to set 10 minutes to find my inspiration / motivation to do my edits. But then I'm also going to be disciplined enough to stop at that 10 minutes and not be like, let me do another 10. Let me do another 5. Just, no, it's 10. Boom. Now I got to go.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know what, though? Here's the thing. I think that, like, when it comes to Instagram, like, my take on that is that, yes, like, I do like the 10-minute timers, but Instagram is so diverse. Even though, like, you obviously go in for motivation, next thing you know, you're watching a cat video, or next thing you know, you're like, looking at this person's profile, and you're like, wait, why did I even come into this? So I think when you need motivation, because you can grab motivation from role models, which is good to get on, you know, Instagram and look for that, but, like, really, like, go to that person's page or instead of Instagram, I think what would be better is going to like YouTube obviously and then actually searching those people that actually make content to motivate you, aka these videos. This is exactly what we're talking about is finding don't just scroll mindlessly because like this is how I look at Instagram is like it's a whole bunch of like think of a field of just a bunch of trash, but like in that trash there's a couple diamonds and it's like I would just go to the jeweler and get aka like the spot where they have diamonds instead of rummaging through a gang of trash and getting distracted by the trash to find
I guess it's a little different for me because like
that's
for me and what I do, I'm looking at art pieces and I'm trying to decipher and see it as a puzzle and like I understand the techniques that they do, so I'm like, oh, but certain things I don't understand, so I'm just trying to break things down, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not, you know, sitting here and being like watching it necessarily and being like, okay, that's cool. Okay, go for the next one. I'm like, no, what did they do there? How did they do this? You know, so it again, but at the end of the day,
that's true.
I can still get lost in it.
That's true.
And being like, just because I'm sitting here fixating on one video, trying to break it down and I'm using it as a tool, doesn't mean that I can't get lost in time.
Yeah.
You know, so again, setting
Time
that
management.
timer for myself to be like, okay, that's enough for you today. And also it works both ways, because when you set that timer, it's like, it's not like I leave and go to the next task and I'm not thinking about that video. I'm still thinking, how do they do that? And now it allows my brain to just kind of
Yeah.
go and decipher it. And when I do this, when I think I got it, I'm like, oh, I'm motivated now. Sit in front of my computer and use my footage and do what I got to do my craft.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what? Okay, yeah, I see your point on that. I see my point on this, and I guess it's all like just like
It's
person
subjective.
specific. Yeah, it's subjective because like it depends. Like, what kind of person are you, and what are you again looking that.
But it's
looking for
important,
motivation.
like, you know, for you guys to understand what
Yeah.
kind of person you are, whichever one it
Yeah.
is. You know,
Yeah,
you
for
know
the
what
people
to
to
look out for,
understand.
and you know
Yeah.
how to. It's just it's
Yeah.
all tips. So yeah, while we're on the topic of managing time, you know, sometimes I'm guilty of trying to create a list in my head of so many things that I have to do. Do you ever struggle with that?
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because like I was thinking about that. Like time management when you were speaking earlier is such a huge thing, and you can do so much with your motivation just by understanding that you have a lot more time than you think you do. Like when you tell me, I remember when you were so stressed that one day and we were sitting in the car and I asked you, I'm like, what's going on? Like you're like, I just feel like I have so much to do and I'm not going to be able to get to it, right?
Yeah.
And you were telling me listing, and I said, okay, talk to me. And I did this exercise with you in this car because I wanted you to out loud say all the things you had to say, because what happens, and I've realized this, is we are dramatic. We are dramatic as people. Like we always feel like we have so many things to do, and then when we end up doing a lot of the things, I found this for myself personally. I know that there are people out there that are so busy, that are moms and have their day, and I'm not
Right.
knocking those people, but I will have to say this is there's been times where I myself personally have been so overwhelmed with, okay, I gotta train clients at this time, I have to go grocery shopping, I have to make some meal plans, and then I end up doing everything, and then I'm done by like 4 p.m. And I'm like, you were
tripping thinking that you didn't
were
have.
tripping, like you were literally tripping. So that's why I was like, when you were telling me you were stressed and you feel like you can't get to your own things, I was like, all right, talk to me. Like, what do you have to do? And time management is about prioritizing. So when you were telling me, okay, I have to get this edit out, I have to do this, I have to do that, like you were naming that, you're like, I have to do the laundry. I was like, wait, pause. Because when you said, understand, like there's a time, like what is it called,
Like my edits are time sensitive.
yeah, it's time sensitive.
I
Like
have to
I
turn it in by a
understand.
specific time.
I understand those are due, but when you said laundry, you're like, I have to do laundry, I have to clean the house. I was like, wait, hold on. Like, this is what I want to tell people about time management is you have to realize that there's a priority to your task. So like one, if something has to get done, you have to, the way you manage time is by asking yourself, like, does this have to be done today, or can I, and like we always hear, don't leave it for tomorrow, but some things you actually have to leave for tomorrow, like just because of time management. Like what is more important has to go first.
Yeah.
So even with this in the podcast, like I knew that we had needed that time today, so I got up a little bit earlier today and just shifted everything up, because the reality is that you have time or you make time, right?
Yeah.
Like you get it done, like like you either make it work or you make excuses. Like it's always one or the other, right? So definitely time management is huge, because like the reason a lot of people can't do what they do is because they're, again, overwhelmed by the fact that these things take time. But we as humans, especially, I'm telling you, the gram makes me do this, because how you gonna tell me you don't have time, but you're on the gram for hours at a time, or you're like, just how much time do we waste doing that? So like, I'm telling you, like, practice, delete your apps.
Your phone tells you how long you've been spending time on those apps, by the way. So you
Yeah.
should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
And see how much time you actually waste on those apps.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to what you said is I do remember that conversation. I think one thing that I guess one way that I used to, what am I trying to say? One way that I've changed now, or at least a practice that I've done, and hopefully, and maybe some of you guys can do this, is before I used to keep this list in my head, and and it was really hard to prioritize in my head because you're trying to organize it in a visual way that's going on in here. So one thing that I started doing was, all right, what do you need to do today? Write it down, write your list down, and then from there I was actually saw on a piece of paper. I was like, okay, this can be moved here, this can be pushed over there,
Yep.
and just prioritizing for sure. Not that I didn't prioritize before, but actually instead of trying to keep up with it in my own head, write it on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd be traveling with a little piece of paper to be like, what else I gotta do? And then checking it off. And again, those little victories like we talked about. And again, those little victories that we talked about. And same as you had mentioned, it's 5 o'clock and I've done all of that.
Yeah.
But if I would have kept it in here, I would have been stressing and thinking, and then it ends up being like too overwhelming and too daunting of a task.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, you are absolutely right. And while you were speaking, I literally felt the Holy Spirit give me the last strategy.
What was that?
That strategy of just praying and asking God to help you through motivation. Like, you can pray for that. Like, I literally did that because when I was feeling, again, just going that week off the podcast, again, I felt that rust and I felt that stress coming on to me. And I just had a moment with God, and I sat in the car and I just prayed and I asked him to bring back my concentration, to keep me focused and keep me aligned with the goals that he gave to me. And I just want to say this too, that we have to understand as people that the fact that you have this idea in your head is God's affirmation to you that it's possible. And like, we have to remember that as long as it's possible, like, we can get the job done. Like, God would have not given us the inspiration.
Yeah.
So I just clung to that. But the number one thing is just calling on God, really, because he will take you out of it. And I was asking God and I was praying God, because it's so crazy, because I was feeling really motivated. And when it came to this podcast, my main thing is I was just ready. I had, these topics that were coming, and I'm like, I want to do a video about this, a video about that. And then all of a sudden I just had like that creative block where like you just can't think of anything. And I prayed for God to help me through that, because that was giving me a lack of motivation. Because how am I going to feel motivated to do a podcast when I don't even have the topic? Like, so these things are piling up, but like just really calling on God and praying to him.
I love that you said that, because
strategy.
I practice that myself. Is when I start feeling overwhelmed with all the tasks that I have to do, one thing that I do include in my prayer, whether it's my meal or not, or, just when I start feeling myself be overwhelmed, I do a prayer where I just practice nothing but gratitude. I just take that time, and the prayer is not to ask for God for anything, but to thank him for what he's already allowed me to do today.
Yeah, that gratitude.
Yeah, that gratitude helps so much, because it flips the anxiety into happiness, to be like, wow, you actually did let me do a lot today, so thank you. Because even if I were to put my cap on today, it was a great, successful day.
Yeah.
And you still got 7 hours for you and I to do something.
Yeah.
So thank you for allowing me to get this far. And how you said, how did you say it? I liked how you said it. Is if God puts the thought in you, then it's already possible. Or if God gives you the idea, it's already possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to keep running with that too, because I tend to do that myself a lot. When it comes to my line of work, I'm just like, oh, are you going to be able to do it on time? Or can you do it? Can you live up to the standards? And it's like, yo, if God gave you that gig, if God said you could do it, and he gave you those ideas, it's possible. So I like that.
I love that.
Write that down.
Write that down. I really feel like, look, like the number, two things that are right away come to me that is like the antidote to almost anything is just God and positivity. Like, those two combined, like, can get you out of any rut. They could get you out of any, lack of motivation, just anything where you just feel like I was talking about earlier was paralysis by overanalysis, because you've done too much thinking. Oh my gosh, paralysis. Like,
yeah,
I like how that sounds too. But yeah, like paralysis by overanalysis. That's something that happens to a lot of us, because we get so again, like, too much in here, and then we're not taking this action, and then you have all this and that, and now you've lost motivation, and now you're crippled and you've done nothing. So definitely, like, calling on God, but then being positive, like, through it all, because look, like we said, like, motivation is coming, but it's also going, and we got to be real with ourselves. Like, once you accept that, then you can start utilizing the tools and the strategies. But I just hope that you guys have taken something from this video today. There's so many strategies in this video that have lifted us up through those dry spells. So please, like, take those down. And I would love to hear in the comment section, like, which one you guys resonated with and which ones you guys want to apply to your life. I just really pray that you guys took something from this video.
Or ways that you guys do it that we haven't mentioned. Mention that in the comments, because not only
like,
is
what's
it for
your
the
strategy?
listeners, but maybe we want to try it,
Yeah, I would love to try it.
Yeah, 100%, because obviously our way isn't the only way. That's just our way that we
Yeah,
do it.
exactly. And that's why also too we want to tell you guys too, like I pray that and I hope that you guys took something from us, but we can always learn something from you guys too. So we would love to hear from feedback from
That's
you
the whole
guys.
point of this of this podcast, guys. That we stated in the beginning is for us to help you guys, but we also know that we can learn from you. And one thing that you told me is that you can learn anything from anybody. So we said that we also wanted to build this community. So we're trying to put you on game, but we also understand that there's game to be given as well.
Exactly. Like, God has revealed different blessings to each and every one of us, so we can always take from each other. So yes, and we want to close this out with a prayer. Say a quick prayer for you guys. All right. Our beloved Heavenly Father, as we close this podcast, we want to take a moment to thank you so much for working so hard in our lives, God. I want to say a special prayer for the person behind the screen today, that they just feel a vindication and a huge surge of energy and any type of lack of motivation that they might be feeling, that you could come into their lives, send them down the Holy Spirit, and that they can feel refreshed and just vindicated, ready to really take on a new day tomorrow. So we love you, Heavenly Father. Again, thank you for always being in our life, and we can call on you at any time. And we thank you so much for these people that you've sent to us. We love you so much, and we offer you this prayer. In Jesus' name we ask of all these things. Amen.
Amen.
All right, you guys. Thank you. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us today again.
Thank you, guys.
We love you so much, and we hope that you guys have an amazing week.
Go get your godly gains.